Since I've started using Raycast as a programmer, my productivity has gone through the roof. So in this video, I want to share with you all the Raycast plugins and shortcuts you should definitely use if you're a programmer using Raycast. So I have grouped these into 3 categories. The first one is related to programming, the second one is for daily tasks, and the third one is just a bunch of very useful utilities. So first thing first, you should definitely be using the clipboard history, and I have set mine to Control-Command-V. And the reason for that is that Control-Shift-V is often used by programs. And when I do that, you just have the history of everything that you have copied, so you don't have to worry again about overwriting your clipboard when copying something. And when using the clipboard history, also double check that you are actually excluding your password manager. That way your passwords won't end up here. And you can do that by searching for extensions. Here, clipboard history. And when you click on it, here you should make sure that you excluded your password managers. Another feature that I've been using a lot recently is the snippets feature. And for that, let's just open a React project. And let's say that you are creating a new component. So let's just create a file, call it component.tsx. And here, instead of having to write this boilerplate of creating a component, I can just go and open my snippets. So just search for snippets. And I have one called React function component. And as you can see here, there is this small green underscore, and this is actually a placeholder. So when I click on enter, you're gonna see that I have to enter the component name. So let's just call this one my component. And this is going to fill everything. And when I hit on enter, you're going to see that this all appears in my code editor. And that way I don't have to write this bunch of code everywhere. And you can set this up also very easily by just going to snippets, and you can just create a snippet. And here you can give it a name, my snippet. And here in the snippets, you can have some dynamic values like an argument, which is what we've been using till now. Or you can also have the content of your clipboard or the current date or time. The next tool that I've been using a lot since we're talking about Visual Studio Code is the Visual Studio Code plugin. And the cool thing about this is that it lets you to very easily launch any project. So previously, if I wanted to open a project, I would open Visual Studio Code, which would open the last project that I have opened. And then I would have to click on Command, Shift-N. This will create this new window, and then I will have to search for my project. But now I can just open Raycast, type VS, and this stands for Visual Studio Code. I have set this up in the settings, hit on enter, and here I have all my projects. So if I wanted to open archetype, I can just start typing and it opens it up, hit on enter, and it opened it. The next extension that I'm using a lot is the Docker extension. Now, of course, there is a Docker desktop application that you can have on your Mac, but for me, it has always been a pain to work with it. It's always crashing. Sometimes it's running in the background and I cannot bring it to the foreground, and just been really hard to work with. And with the Docker extension, you can very easily manage your containers and your images. Here I can just click on enter to just start the container. And when it's starting, you see that it's green. And if I click on enter again, it's going to stop it. And this way, it's really easy to manage your containers and also your images. Another extension that I'm using a lot, especially when I'm programming, is the Tailwind CSS extension. You just write Tailwind and you can search the documentation, the colors, the classes, or the components. This one is for Tailwind UI. And the most useful one, of course, is documentation. You can just click here and search for anything. Let's say, for example, padding, hit an enter, and this is going to open a new window in the correct documentation page. And you can imagine how much time I have saved with this extension. The next extension is called Kill Process, and this one makes it really easy to just stop a program. So you can just search here for anything. Let's say Slack. Right now it's not open, but you can search for anything and just hit on enter and it will just stop the program. And the last extension or tool inside this category is the built-in Code Image Maker. And this one is really cool. It makes it really easy to just generate a code image. For that, let's just open Visual Studio Code. And let's say that you have some kind of code and you want to share this on Twitter. So you can do is just select it. And then there's this command, generate image. And you can see this is the code that I have been selecting. And you can just export it. Then you have this very beautiful picture. You can change the theme or the language. It's really, really cool. Now let's move on to the second category, and this one is about tools that I'm using in my daily life, not necessarily related to programming, but still helps me be very productive. And the first one is called My Schedule, and this is basically a calendar integration. You can connect it to your calendars and it's going to pull all your meetings and you can have a very good overview. And the cool thing about this is that when you have a meeting, let's say in 5 or 10 minutes, then when you open Raycast, you're going to see the meeting directly and you can just enter the meeting room if it's on Zoom or Google Meet without needing to open the calendar and then search for the meeting and for the meeting link. And it also gives you a quick preview of your camera before opening the meeting. That way you look exactly how you want. And so when you're in a meeting and want to take some notes on the spot, you can just use the built-in notes and just start writing whatever you want, and you know that this is going to be saved and you can look it up afterwards. And you know, when you sometimes take in some notes and you want to use some emojis, you know how bad the search function is. You can barely find anything that you're searching for. And for that, you can just use the built-in emoji picker. I have set mine to open when hitting EM. And here you can just search for anything you want. Let's say a heart. And as you can see, the search functionality is way better than in the built-in emoji picker. And when you want to insert it, you can either just hit enter and this is just going to insert it, or Command K and then you can just copy it to the clipboard. But if you don't like to save your notes everywhere and you want to save your notes in Notion, for example, there's also a plugin for that. And that's actually a plugin that I use a lot. And here you can just directly access all your recent pages. You can also search them. And let's just search for Raycast. And then it directly opens the Notion document. There's also a bunch of built-in utilities that I use a lot. I'm not going to go too much into the details, but there's also a built-in calculator. You can also check the time in a location. And you can also just convert a currency, which is really awesome. Now the last category is just a bunch of neat little tools and plugins I'm sure you're going to find very useful. The first one is the built-in focus mode. And here you can just start a focus session. Let's say I want to design the user's page. And let's say I want to achieve this within 30 minutes. And here you can also select, for example, I want to block everything. I don't want to have any notification or anything like that. I don't want it to be disturbed. And then hit Command Enter. And this is going to start this focus session. You can see down here how much time you have left. And you're not going to be disturbed by anything until you finish this session. I find this really useful if you keep jumping from one task to another, and this just keeps you focused on one of them. And if you're a Pomodoro person, I sometimes use the Pomodoro technique. Helps me from going down rabbit holes. And there is also I think built-in. I'm not sure if this is built-in or if it's a plugin, but you can just create a Pomodoro and just start a focus session. So this does not have anything to do with the other Raycast focus. And when you start this, you can actually see it here. You can see that you have 24 minutes left and you can pause it or reset it. And you also get a notification for a break and when you should start working again. Now, if you're a designer or just work a lot with SVGs and logos, then you should check out these two plugins. The first one is SVGL. And here you can directly search for logos of tech-related firms or products. And the second one is called Iconify. And here you can search for basically anything. Let's search, for example, for a check sign. This takes a bit longer, but you can see you receive a lot of results. And here you can just copy it and use it wherever you want. And the last command that I'm using a lot is the color picker. This one is also built in. So you can just pick any color you want and it just copies it to the keyboard. This makes it really easy to just grab a color out of anywhere. I don't have to install an extra extension on your browser. So have you been using all these plugins or did I miss any good ones? Please let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching and as always, see you in the next video.